Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of our planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. Jaime En Fuego here, welcoming you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment. That's right, so stoked to have you here. You can just call me Fuego for short. And yes, here with another FRESCA FUEGO review for a film that came out at the end of January and is already on home release. It got one of those at-home, on-demand sort of situations, which has been happening a lot lately with the fact that the world is crazy. We're all self-quarantined, social distancing, stuck at home, a lot of us, and yes, none other than the rhythm section with some pretty significant talent behind it. The director of The Skeleton Twins, I believe it was, which was a film that I really dug, and this is a foray into like higher concept, La Femme Nikita, Red Sparrow sort of like action, female assassin espionage type stuff, which I dig the hell out of, honestly, at least conceptually. This one doesn't deliver, regrettably, but I mean, enough talent behind it in the acting as well. I mean, our lead is none other than Blake Lively, who I used to kind of just bat an eye at that, oh, she's just a pretty face, whatever, but she has shown continued dramatic improvement in All I See Is You. She has shown great comedic timing and just solid stuff in A Simple Favor, which I thought was very good. That was done by Paul Feig, if I remember correctly, and it was her and Anna Kendrick. Very, very good movie. So, I mean, she's leading lady status at this particular point for me. She has really just reinvented herself beyond. I think she started on Gossip Girl, if I remember correctly. Never watched that show, but I think that was at least where, you know, her big break kind of came, and she found herself in the public consciousness based on that show. But beyond her, you've got two stellar male leads as well in Sterling K. Brown and Jude Law. But aside from Blake Lively, there's a lot of mailing in on this movie. And not only that, besides being a pretty well shot film from like a standpoint of cinematography and the directorial work and everything like that, the story and the execution of it is so boringly by the books that you can understand why this movie tanked at the box office. This is the worst opening for a wide release film in history. So wide release, if I'm not mistaken, is if you are on either 3,000 screens or more. This was on almost 3,100 screens when it came out January 31st. And it had a budget of over $50 million from what I was reading. And it came out the same week as their Gretel and Hansel, which I saw that for the horror show that weekend, even though I was like kind of intrigued by the rhythm section. I was like, I'm definitely gonna either see it in theaters or, you know, once it's on VOD or, you know, home release, I'll Redbox it, Netflix it, because I still get Netflix in the mail. I'm one of those weird people. I also have all the streaming services and stuff, and so it was a film I was eventually gonna check out, and I Redboxed it just yesterday, and boy was I disappointed. Because beyond, as I said, a good-looking film, it was just drab and boring, and it just felt uninspired, and that's more so than anything a credit to the script, you know, or a discredit to it in this regard, you know, because Blake really feels to me like she is doing all that she can, but there is really a very scant amount of explanation about certain character motivations, and it's kind of hackneyed and jumbled at times as far as explaining a lot of different things. So basically, long story short, we have Lively's character, Stephanie or whatever. She goes by various aliases over the course of this film. But basically, the issue with her is that her entire family died in a plane crash, and the plane actually blew up, you know, so presumed terrorist attack. And she's experiencing survivor's guilt because last minute she decided not to go on the plane, not to go along with them, and it was because she didn't want to go, she didn't want to see them. And we kind of surmise over the course of the film that the reason for that is because the beautiful girl who seems so happy that we see in these overdone, beat a red-headed dead horse with these flashbacks of this family footage of everybody taking pictures and being all cute and sweet and happy and everything like that. They go back to it so many times in this, including scene after scene of Blake's character just broodingly just staring into space and just like on the verge of tears, and in some cases crying obviously too, and just going back to those same scenes of the family, and you're just like, okay, you're really just ramming that point home, and the point is being rammed home with Blake when we meet up with her character, because she is very obviously a junkie, and she's in London. We're assuming the whole family's in London. Her accent is here and there throughout the movie, but yeah, she's a junkie prostitute in London, and she has that survivor's guilt about, you know, abandoning her family. But the fact that we don't really get that much information about where she went from those flashbacks that we see in that video footage where she's beautiful, I mean, the Blake Lively you're used to seeing, to this gangly, crack-headed, gross, I mean, super circles under the eyes. She's chopped all her hair off, and I mean, she looks bad. She is not attractive, and, you know, credit to the makeup department for that, to, you know, take this lovely actress and make her look so kind of like borderline appalling in a lot of ways. I mean, you can still see there's a beautiful creature underneath, and of course, in this redemption sort of story, if she's going to be a convincing assassin for, you know, the MI6 or 17 or whatever the hell it is, but, you know, basically for the people that she gets involved with, let's just put it that way, who inevitably becomes Jude Law. And the script is just bad. The script is bad in this movie, and I really always try to give, you know, the most objective review that I can, and that's why I'm saying this is a good looking film. It's a well shot film, and there is one car chase kind of thing in the middle of the movie that is very well done. It's kind of the centerpiece of the film as far as the action goes, and it's good. It's actually pretty good, pretty damn good. And you know, performance from Blake as the lead is good as well. It impressed me from a dramatic standpoint, although she does overdo it with the junkie shaking a little bit. But a refreshing thing was the fact that she's not the most adept assassin initially. You can tell even when she's on the job after the stupid montage with her and Jude Law. By the way, Jude Law, going through the motions like a mofo in this movie, does not seem to really care, and he's one of my favorite actors, and so to see him in this particular state of just, okay, you know, whatever, he doesn't bring the fire like I've seen him bring in other performances. I mean, shit, he was even better in Captain Marvel, for God's sake, than he was in this movie. Sterling K. Brown, he's a guy that I've started to warm up to more and more as I've seen him in, you know, just increasing his, what's the word, I don't know, his prestige and, you know, his notoriety, I guess you could say. But once again, he doesn't really feel like he cares that much in this movie, and he has an interesting kind of love interest thing going on, as hinted at in the trailers, with Lively's character. But I'm not here to just rag and tag on this movie, but it really just did not do it for me in this sort of sexy espionage, you know, that very La Femme Nikita. I think that was the first thing that I mentioned earlier in this review. Totally where this took a predominance of its inspiration from. But even though I don't like, you know, J-Law very much, I thought Red Sparrow was immensely superior to this movie, and not just because I got to see her goodies or anything like that. And Blake keeps it classy in this, just to let you know, for the most part. But she does find herself in tons of similar situations to both of those movies, and yet this one feels very, not even second rate, but very third rate in that regard. And as I went on to read about the amount of money, like, they put it on over 3,000 screens, and especially with some stuff that they do in this movie, they were trying to franchise this, man. They really were. They were trying to, like, Lady Bond this. And it didn't work, because the total box office haul for this movie was not even $6 million. And with a budget of over 50, and then you have to also take into consideration marketing and all of that other stuff. I mean, this is a movie that they're saying is probably gonna cost the studio like nearly $40 million in losses. That is ginormous, and the thing that's disappointing, really more so than anything about that, you know, is the fact that I feel like it's going to hinder Blake from being the type of leading lady that she totally deserves to be, because the faults in this film are none of hers, in my estimation, you know. And really, none of the directors. It is script in this. And a boring, by-the-numbers, lackluster, uninspired script is what can make a film like this that could have been really friggin' good, man, and turns out being so boringly lackluster. Like, I didn't hate this movie, but I was just so indifferent to it. Like, I mean, when I'm watching things at home in comparison with theaters, which we can't currently go to, if I'm, like, grabbing my phone and looking at things in the midway point because it has gotten to such a drearily boring slog, that's a really negative sign. You know, if I am engaged, I don't touch a phone, even at home. There's no need to. If I am engaged and enthralled, this movie failed at just keeping that interest. And unfortunately, it was the same thing, you know, with my lady. She was like going and getting food, and, you know, she just was like, I'm not liking this very much. Why did you pick this? And I was like, because I was very curious as to if it was as bad as both critics and audiences said it was. And unfortunately, this one lives up to the reputation. Sorry, Blake, and, you know, especially the cinematographer who actually, you know, and the director who did a great job with the look of this film. It's just too bad the script was so lame. So, in any event, I'm gonna cut off at that. This isn't a Feo film. This isn't a 1-star film, but this is definitely 2 out of 5 Fuego Fireballs. This is a malo film. It's a bad film, but it's not an ugly film. You know, it still has aspects of merit that I can point out to and need to, you know, because to give an objective review, you can't just be Angry Joe hate brigade of, you know, like mainly stupidity. So, in any event, I'm Jaime En Fuego. Y'all can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, just like you see it spelled below. I am less than 30 subscribers from having 1,000 on this side channel of mine. So if you could subscribe, if you like it, hit that silly little thumbs up button. But yeah, so much more on YouTube has opened up to me if I can cross that 1,000 subscriber threshold. I neglected this channel for 2 years, you know, when the other channel, that is my main channel, youtube.com/The Horror Show channel that you're seeing below, where we do horror film, television, we've done some music stuff, we've done lots of video game stuff, novels, comic books, and beyond all of those reviews, we do trailer reactions, we do convention coverage, back when there were conventions, if you guys remember those. Weren't those a fun thing? And at film festivals and things like that as well. Yeah, we're official press for a lot of stuff here in Arizona, and a lot of those things were canceled this year, which was a real bummer. But when I'm not on that channel that has nearly 33,000 subscribers, you know, I'm over here, and I'm trying to cover more, you know, non-spooktacular stuff. So I want to cover dramas and more sci-fi and comedy and, you know, straight up action like this. And, you know, I need to have an outlet for that. And for my geektastic stuff, like I do lots of Star Wars coverage on here, and have, you know, for, you know, since relaunching the channel, Star Wars films and books and comics and various other things. So if you could show a brother some love, that would be rad status. And yeah, I guess that's going to be the end of things for today. Sorry, rhythm section, you know, I just wasn't feeling the groove on this. But I'm En Fuego, y'all have been rad status, and until the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego cinemigos, constant readers and viewers alike. But I'm hopeful that we share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later. Next time I hope it's better.